Hey, Samantha Spicer here, and today's PD is going to be about book talks. Book talks are important whenever you're trying to instill that lifelong love of reading with students. In my opinion, reading is not something that just all students love to do, so this is a good way to get them really thinking about reading and actually reading. So, we'll just start with what is a book talk. A book talk is a short speech, and it encourages someone to read a book, giving the audience an idea of plot, characters, or themes of the book. But you don't want to summarize the whole book or give away the ending because you're really wanting to encourage your audience to read the book that you are talking about. Now, literacy instruction. I am a fourth grade ELA teacher myself, and literacy instruction is very, very important, especially for those students who don't necessarily like to read. This really gets them reading, it gets them thinking about what they're reading, and it gets them thinking deeper. These are also fun and engaging for the students. And like I said, it really makes them dig deep and it helps them to think critically because not only are they thinking about what they're reading, they're having to present this to their classmates in a way that would encourage them to read the book that they're reading. Book talks also promote independent reading and encourage students to keep reading. It also really opens the door for students to read books that they probably would not otherwise read, or even genres they wouldn't read. The possibilities are endless here. And just to reiterate what I said, introduce students to new genres or types of books that they may not have otherwise read, and help them read on a deeper level and truly help them to comprehend what they're reading. And without them even knowing it, they're building their stamina. They are increasing their level, if you will. These are very, very good, especially in the lower grades. I know this is for young adults, which is also good for them. Okay, so if you were getting started with a book talk in your classroom, you would want to have students think about a book talk as a commercial or a way to persuade someone to read the book that they're talking about. Also, you'll know you gave a great book talk if someone else in the class decides to read your book. Now, I really liked this video. It gives like guidelines for students on how to really get started and ways to, or this is really to follow on how to do their book talk. So we'll watch this.
Reading books and creating book talks is one of my favorite things to do. I'm Dr. Gustafson, and sometimes kids even ask me how to create book talks. It's awesome. Let me let you in on a little secret. Shut the door, though. The secret to better book talks is bring in the heat. H-E-A-T. Heat stands for hook, energy, audience, and time. The hook is the most important part of your book talk. Instead of starting with your name or the title of the book, start with a hook. Hook us in. You could start with a surprising fact, ask a question, share a picture, or a sound effect. Do something catchy, something that gets us interested in your book talk. E stands for energy. What you have to say about your book matters. So say it loud and say it proud. It may seem funny at first, but you almost need to talk twice as loud as you ordinarily would. That way, when you start to whisper, your audience will really tune in. And speaking of audience, why should they care about your book? Other than the fact that your book is awesome, and so are you. Try to think of one thing your audience might be interested in. The key is to connect your book's content to your audience in a personal way. And T, T is for time. Try to create a book talk between 30 and 60 seconds long. Definitely keep it under 2 minutes. Please. Working on time will actually require you to practice giving your book talk. Most people do a great job with the hook at the beginning, but they don't practice how to stop or end their book talk. Timing is everything. Practice it. Now you know the secret. Now you know how to bring the heat. See if you can notice how I bring the heat. Hook, energy, audience, and timing on this next book talk. I'm Dr. Gustafson. I'm the principal at Greenwood Elementary in Minnesota. Today I will be telling you about After the Fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. Psst, I'm kidding. There was no heat in that book talk intro. Let's roll the real footage. This book is perfect for anyone who's ever been embarrassed before. I remember running track in high school and wanting to win the race. Well, I leaned forward at the end of the race and I fell face first at the finish line. All my friends laughed at me over and over again. But the hardest part about that was they never talked about what happened after the fall. Because guess what? I got up. And that's why this story is so impactful. It's by Dan Santan. And Humpty Dumpty gets up and it is beautiful. You've got to read it. Check it out. In what ways did you notice that I tried to bring the book talk heat? And
Okay, so that is a good example for students. I think it gives them a good model of what to look for and what to do with their book talks. Okay, so other ways to help prepare for a book talk in your classroom. You want to provide students with a list of guidelines and guiding questions to help them prepare for the book talk. This is important, especially if they're just starting doing book talks, because otherwise they might include too much or not enough or just really be unsure of where to start. It helps them organize their thoughts as they're working through. And also a good way to show them is to model it yourself. And then you can show, kind of like the last video, that you don't want to include too many details, but you kind of want to leave it on a cliffhanger for others to want to read. Okay. So how to set it up within the classroom or library. This could work either way. You can do book talks as often as you would like. Maybe suggest starting with once a month just to get a feel for it and to give students enough time to read and work through it and practice their speech. You could even do every 2 weeks. And if you have a class of readers who read quickly, you could even do once a week. But students need to select their book first, and they need to read the book. I know that might sound, kind of obvious, but that would be a big problem that I could see is you could decide what you want to read, but then not really read it. The teacher can check in and conference with students to ensure that they're on track and that they're reading their book. Just conferencing, asking them questions about it, just to make sure they are reading. They could, after they read the book, that's when they would want to complete that worksheet to organize their thoughts and to write down maybe even a whole summary and cross out what they don't want to share and keep what they do want to share, so that way they don't overshare. And then practice book talks, practice their book talk. And on the day of the book talk, they would want to bring the book to class to show their classmates and to kind of, I guess, show as they're doing their book talk. Another thing that I think students should really think about is how they want to end their book talk. I think the hook and the ending are both equally important because you kind of want to leave it on a cliffhanger to where it will be interesting to others and make them just want to go read your book. Okay, so here's an example of guiding questions that you could use with a book talk. How will you persuade your audience? That's going to be your hook, and kind of reeling them in to really get them listening to what you're talking about. What's so great about this book? What's your favorite part? Uh, who would like this book? But just don't say just everyone. Be more specific. And the approximate grade level. And then one down here that's cut off is what analysis questions will you be addressing in your talk? That is something that you could build on, especially if you were just starting. Another question I would add to this is how will you end your book talk? I think it can be easy to just keep rambling and not really know where or how to stop. And then you go over that 2 minute mark and then it just becomes boring at that point. So you want to hit the high points. You want to really know how to engage the audience to listen to what you're saying. And then you want to end it as strongly as you started. Okay, so here is a sample book talk. And I think she did a really good job of providing some details, but not too many details. And it's enough information that the audience would know if they wanted to read the book or if maybe they don't want to read the book.
Hi, my name is Jasny and I'm from Stone Middle School. Today's book talk is Cinder. It's a classical twist on the traditional story of Cinderella. Instead of being full human, she's cyborg. Her best friend is an android named Aiko. How she meets the prince is that she meets him every week at a local mechanic booth. He later falls in love with her and invites her to the ball. Will she go? Read this book to find out. You can get it at your local school library or your public library.
Now, another thing I like about the video is sometimes you might have a really overly shy student, and this would also be a good way for those students to complete their book talk at home and present it to the class until they were comfortable enough to stand in front of the class and talk about their book.
Hi, Mike.
Okay. So, a follow-up that I'm going to do here would be how could you plan a successful book talk for your classroom? Where would you start? What would that look like? And then I will attach the planning sheet to Blackboard. And the whole purpose here is to really think about how could you incorporate this? How could you plan for this? And what would it really look like in your classroom? To me, I think that this would be good, like I said, monthly, even every other week. But it would be a good Friday activity because it's kind of wrapping up your week, and then students can give their presentations and share their thoughts. And then you could really get started immediately, Monday or even over the weekend. Students could get started with a new book that they would like to share. And that book could even be one that another student already did a book talk on.